everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Frank. You're not in the office today. What happened?
No, I'm still in Point Pleasant. I'm actually going to be heading up this afternoon.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. It's Friday. Not that it really means anything. We're realtors.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Colleen.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Hey, Maria, can you make me the host, Maria? Maria Delaferra?
I'm here, hold on.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alrighty, let's make Rob the host. Okay. What the heck?
So while Maria is doing that, I wanted to just say this was for a spreadsheet person like me, this was a pretty interesting exercise looking at the data. You know, I don't know if Colleen is on. Oh, Colleen, you're there. I was playing around with the Florida statistics, looking at New Jersey, and Robert, I didn't even get to go into the auto report, which I wanted to. I just played around with a lot of available data. And the reason why I chose this topic was to piggyback off of Glenn's topic about how to produce video. Maria Delaferra is the host
Yeah,
now.
hold on, I had to sign in, hold on.
No worries. So when you look at what, gets buyers and sellers to be a little bit more comfortable transacting, what do you think, the top 2 or 3 things are?
Make host, here you go. All right, I just made you host.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So anybody have any idea, like, what do you think would help people be more comfortable transacting
When they know the facts.
when they know the information?
Mhm.
Okay, but what type of information do they need to know?
Well, that's statistical information. Pure facts.
So they need to be educated.
Mhm.
And Maria, what would be one fact that people would want to know? And I just want to kind of share the stage here with some others.
Well, I believe the consumer needs to know, number one, what is going on in the state, then what is going on in the county, and then in their own particular town where they're looking or where they're selling. I believe there has to be 3 layers here.
So information about the market, and I think what you're trying to say is all real estate is local or hyper local, right?
Exactly.
Okay. What else do you think clients would be more comfortable transacting if they had information on? I'm going to ask somebody else to make that contribution.
That the prices are increasing.
A new one, the one that's on the share.
Hold on, let me.
The one on the share.
All right, if you want to talk, just unmute yourself. I had to mute everybody. Frank, were you saying something?
I was saying, so what they'd want to see on the buy side is that the prices are still increasing. Nobody wants to get stuck at the top. So they want to just make sure that the prices aren't going to decrease after they buy, which, nobody has a crystal ball, but if you could back it up with statistics, it's definitely a plus.
Okay, so prices increasing or even price stability, would you agree?
Yeah, price stability as well.
All right, what would something else be that, people would want to better understand in order to make the right decision for themselves? Go for a third contributor. Colleen?
How long does the property stay on the market? How quickly are the sales taking place? And are they selling for more or less?
So basically, how is the market behaving, right?
Exactly.
I took some time to look at like some really macro numbers and compare them to our two primary markets, which would be, Florida and New Jersey. And I came away with a few interesting conclusions. Let me just start to share my screen, and hopefully this will get the conversation started. One of the things that, let's see, one of the things that I believe is driving the housing market is supply and demand instead of speculation, which I think happened in probably the 2005 to 8 range. For our friends down in Florida, do you see rampant speculation like you did 15, 20 years ago if you're in the business? I'm gonna ask Colleen, because I know you've been in the business for at least 15 years.
Not well. What we're seeing now is a shortage of inventory.
We're seeing some investing, but we're not seeing rampant speculation.
No, not at all.
In 2005 through 8, for those of us who weren't in the business, what type of loans were available, Colleen?
If you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan.
They were like 100% liar loans, right?
Right.
And did you see an abundance of people going to put contracts on new construction homes with the intent of flipping them?
Yes.
And I don't think we see any of that in this current environment. And I think what's happening is the public is fearful of what happened a generation ago, or nearly a generation ago, 15, 20 years ago. And our job is to educate them on what the real facts are, correct?
Exactly.
So I have a theory that there's a crunch, which is going to keep a floor, keep prices stable to slowly increasing. And that's going to be a comparison of household formations to housing starts. Does that make sense? Like if people are forming households, what are they going to need? By definition, a house, right? If
More space.
or a house. Like if you're, a teenager, or you're a recent college graduate, you're starting your family, you need to have housing. And I took a look at, housing starts through and compared that to household estimates to new housing starts. Let me see if I can get this to show up a little bit better. And privately owned housing units is this red line here. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
And household estimates is this blue line. So there was a glut in new homes that were built in excess of housing starts in the early 2000s. But since then, all of this area here, if you're a math person, is people who don't have enough housing units that are being built. And this is in the thousands. So that would be like about a million, probably about a million shortage per year, compounded for, 15 years. So that to me tells me that the speculation or the speculative component to housing is really not in the marketplace. And I think we need to share data like this through whatever forum we have, whether it's to do a Facebook Live, to do some videos to your clients, to share with them that, housing is not speculative. If you have a house that's priced right now, somebody who hasn't talked in New Jersey, if you have a house that's priced right now, how many offers are you getting on it? Monroe, New
30.
Jersey. So you're getting 30. Who's that?
Paul, I've submitted offers in the last week, and that one offer, Scarlett and I, we got a response back. Our offer wasn't accepted. They had 31 offers. Another one, totally different client, 39 offers. It's a lot of offers still going on here.
Now,
Why do agents do that? I mean, that's insane. I mean, why do you have to have 39 offers? Isn't 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 enough? Should be able to find one good buyer out of that. It's just
No, the
insane
more-
to have that
No,
many
no,
offers.
Well,
No.
the more you have, the higher the price is gonna go up.
but I mean,
Yeah,
to Rob's,
most of these
Seem-
offers are
seems to-
$60,000, $80,000 above asking that we're submitting.
so
I
Paul,
know, but it just seems crazy to me that, you get a few good offers and, at least you have 3 or 5, even say 5 offers. You have 5 people bidding against each other rather than 39. I mean, that's just crazy. But I mean,
Yeah, but
I guess it
this
works,
is
I don't know.
no, but this is
Yeah.
right in the first 3-4 days. But anyway, I'll go ahead.
so is there anybody
Yeah.
on the New Jersey, and I'm gonna come to you, Ron, in a minute. Anybody in the New Jersey side that just sold the listing and wants to share how many offers they had? I mean, I think that's like off the chart, Paul, crazy number of high offers. Anybody else have a listing that they sold in the past week that you want to share the number of offers that you had? New
This
Jersey.
is Lisa Grande. I had 7 offers on my condo.
Okay. So that seems to be a little bit more manageable. So 7 to, Paul, you said 39? So, I mean,
Yeah,
I would say we're probably, seeing anywhere from, 4 to 50, with probably the average being, 5 to 8, 5 to 15 offers on a piece of real estate. And I don't think, unless somebody's actively looking, that they're going to realize how much of a shortage there is. And I think we need to educate buyers not to scare them away, Paul, with 39 offers, but to make them prepared that if they do want to transact something and they want to buy a house, and sometimes we're too close to what we do, and I'm the biggest victim of this. You feel like you're too close to the situation. Like, all right, home prices have gone up, maybe they have to go down. Maybe I'm putting a signal out there that maybe now is not the ideal time to buy. But if we think about, housing for most people, it's really not an investment. It's where they live, right? And nobody can time housing perfect anyway. All we can do is educate them on where the market really is today. So this chart here, and I'm working on trying to produce some of these reports and maybe make them a little bit prettier if everybody thinks it would be something that would be useful. This report is it's Fred. It's the and it's not Fred or person, but it's the federal. What does Fred stand for? It's the
Freddie Mac?
no, it's the this is basically the St. Louis Fed, St. Louis Fed. So I guess it's the Federal Reserve economic data. There it is, Federal Reserve economic data.
Okay.
Fred. And it comes from the St. Louis Fed that compiles all this data.
Oh,
And I also looked at some other trends that are out there. And I looked at
Rob, if you want information, you can log in my computer here. What do you call? I have stats from 2008 to now, to present in Broward County. So if you want that, You're
And
welcome to have it.
Tony, where are you pulling the data from?
Oh, from the MLS. So I only have data that how many listings, how many came on the market, how many sold, how many closed, and the price, and the expireds. Yeah, and I have all that data there from 2008 when they made me start doing that.
So
you're welcome to have it, and then you can make your graph, whatever. And responding to Ron, is that the market, once you know all this data, you know where the market is. Here in Broward County, the inventory is very low. We have 2,900 homes in the whole county, and we have 2 million people, more than 2 million people that they live here. So years ago, I learned from another agent in San Francisco, because that's where they have this kind of market years ago. And this guy here, what he did is that he put the home on the market and he was telling the seller, you want to know what your home is worth, just leave it there for 2 weeks and see all these offers coming in. And the highest and best will get it, will take it. So that's why all these offers come in. I know it's a lot of work for us, for a listing agent, it's more work, but hey, you're working for the seller, and then the highest the price, the more commission you put in your pocket, and everybody's happy.
Well, I mean, I have properties on the market now that are being shown probably once a day. And they're staying on the market a lot longer. I mean, they're priced right,
That's because
but they're not selling like,
well, that's maybe because the price, I have one too, they're supposed to be $400,000, but the owner, because it's vacant and it's state, the owner said, oh, put it on the market for 500. I said, yeah, we got the time, but we waiting for the county to give us the okay to sell it, the probate to sell it. I said, yeah, we got some time, but every day it gets shown 2-3 times, and I get the report, say, oh, the house is too overpriced. I said, well, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. Thank you.
all right. So I want to do a little exercise here, and I want to ask you from if you can just put, whether you're in New Jersey or Florida, and if Robert Garver, are you on?
Yeah.
I can't see it. So Robert, if you can just maybe tally these out when people respond, but I want to know if you're Florida, if you put, FL, and then you put, what was the home appreciation in 15 and 25 years? What was the average rate for 15 and 25 years for both New Jersey and Florida? So Robert Garver put NJ, and then put, 15, what you think the appreciation was, and 25 years, what you think the average annual appreciation was. Because this was kind of eye-opening to me, and I'm going to tie this into another number shortly.
Well, there is one there that I don't know which one it is, where you get it, but there is some stats there that they have been keeping up from 1972 in US, how the price went up from 72 to today. And it's incredible to see.
What I want you to do, Tony, before looking at the numbers, just tell me, and maybe you can just tell me verbally, what do you think the appreciation was from 2008, which was kind of the peak, till now in Florida? And then we go all the way back to 1998 until now. What do you think the annual appreciation was in 15 years? And then if we go back 25 years, what's the average compounding rate on housing in Florida?
Okay, well, let me go to 2008.
Well, I want your gut. I don't want you to look it up. I want you to tell me, what do you think the appreciation rate was from 2008 till now? Just tell me what's your gut tell you.
Yeah, no, I understand. Let's see. Ibrahim Broward, there you go. Hey,
you're cheating. You're looking it up. You're looking it up, Tony. That's cheating.
No, I have the list in front of me. Yeah, my list. I'm not looking at anywhere. I'm looking at my list here, and what do you call there? The average price. The average price in 2008, it was $284,000 for a single family home. and 142 for a multifamily. Now, 2008, it was, the rock bottom, the 2006, 7, 8, the market went down tremendously that they went. So that was the rock bottom there at 284 for the single family home and 142 for the multifamily. Now we go to 98. I mean, not to 2018, you mean, in 10 years.
So Tony, I'm gonna, be a little bit more concise with the data. Robert, are there any numbers put in the chat?
There's only one response so far, and it's from Florida. It says that it doubled over the time period, 10% a year.
Okay, so that's what I think a lot of people feel, right? But from 2008, which was not quite yet the bottom, it was the market starting to bottom out. We saw 3.75% annual appreciation from 2008 till I think it was March of 2023, which to me seems ridiculously low. Okay, because there was a decline of a little bit and then it started to increase. In 25 years in Florida, the number was 5.95%. Okay, and in the pandemic era, it was 17.0% in the last 3 years. And I wanted to share this with everybody just so that we have a little bit more clarity as to how everything behaves. And interestingly enough, and I'm going to share the New Jersey numbers in a moment, but the appreciation is roughly 2 to 3 times the wage inflation. So the appreciation is roughly, actually 1.5 to 3 times wage inflation. So if you buy a house, it's a great hedge against, your wage inflation. And I don't know how I connect this together, but in the 15 years from 08 till 23, the wage inflation, according to the Federal Reserve, was 2.36% annual. In the 25 years from 98 till 2023, the wage inflation was 2.47%. And in the pandemic era, it was 5.45%. Now, what I see as a deficiency in looking at wage inflation is most people, when they start a job, right? If you start as a fireman or you start as a journeyman in a trade or whatever industry you start in, or as a teacher or a police officer, you have the starting rate, and that's what's measured against inflation. But over time, okay, you get bumps, right? So for example, if you're a teacher and you start out in New Jersey, maybe your first year's base pay is 50 and your 5th year base pay is 62,000. In 5 years, that starting base is going to increase. But if you've been working for 5 years, you're going to get that secondary increase, which we all talked about in a prior mastermind, that makes that uncomfortable housing payment from the beginning seem less significant 5 years down the road. Does that make sense to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're able to find an effective way to communicate to our tribe, our clients, our potential clients, that housing is not purely a speculative investment. How many people do you think who get a first job and have a 401k that matches are going to say, I'm not going to invest in the 401k now because I think the stock market price is high? Do you think a lot of people make that conscious decision?
No.
Robert says no. Colleen, do you think a lot of people, if they go to get a W-2 job and they have a 401k, they're going to say, "Ooh, the stock market's at an all-time high. I'm going to wait before I start putting my money into my 401k"?
No.
I think it's like a ridiculously absurd statement, because over time, prices are going to go up or down. You're going to wind up with a a valid, sufficient retirement plan if you do the right thing. Why would consumers say, hey, I'm going to avoid or I'm going to defer making a purchase on a house because maybe rates are a little bit higher and then now they're even coming down, and they might say, hey, prices are higher than they were 3 years ago or significantly higher than they were 3 years ago. But if you were to take it out from a 15-year perspective, including the pandemic, in Florida, prices are averaged 3.75% annual inflation. 3.75. That's not a big deal. It just happens to have been skewed a little bit in the last 3 years. In 25 years in Florida, because you're taking out that little peak, you have a 5.95% annual appreciation, and the last 3 years was around 17%. It feels like it's a lot more than 17, doesn't it, from being in the local
Well, in
market?
21, it was 26.5% here in Broward County. And last year was 22%. 22. Yeah, it's just incredible. Well, that's because we don't have no more land. It's all built out. Now people, they used to go from Miami to Broward to Palm Beach. Now they're going all the way up to Daytona, between Daytona and Jacksonville, because everything is so expensive down here.
Right. But I mean, and Tony, if we can give people solid data, right, so that they can make the right decisions. If somebody has a job and they have their network in, Broward County, maybe moving up to Daytona is not a viable option, and is the solution, if they can afford it, to continue to rent. Is the solution not to trade up if their house is something that they bought before they had children and now they need a bigger house? Or is the solution to sit on the bigger house, even though they don't need it, because they're afraid they can't find something else? And I think that's where we can educate.
Oh yeah. The people that they are moving away from here, it's the people that they are retiring, because once you retire, you have fixed income there, lower income, so they cannot afford to live here. But certainly we have an influx of people coming to work, and the rents is so high that they are what do you call it? They're building all these new building here in Fort Lauderdale and Broward, and they're all rentals. So I don't understand what's the notion behind that.
So what's the and we're gonna come back to New Jersey in a minute, but the migration pattern, do we resist or do we embrace that? I'll ask that to Tony or Colleen. Like, do we encourage people to build inventory to sell their house if it's too much house that they have in Broward County and to move up to St. Lucie or to Daytona area? Do we openly encourage that and try to find a referral process for referring people out if that's the right thing to do?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's where the clients are going. I mean, I had a lot of people in the last year or two that they all go into that area, and certainly if it's 1, 2, 3, then you start to think about it, why they're going that way. And they all told me the same thing. They all told me, even the big guy there, Rick Cecilia, that he worked in Remax for a long time. He was a teacher in real estate. Even him, he retired and he moved to that way. And I said, Rick, why are you moving there? Well, I'm retiring. I have this big house. I don't need this big house anymore. And for $350,000 or $400,000, he bought a brand new house there near Daytona there that he bought. And the house that he sold here in Plantation, he sold it for $700,000 or $750,000. So he cashed some money there, and plus he bought a new house there. But those are for, like I said, for retired people that they cannot afford to stay here anymore, or they don't like to stay here anymore. So that's the trend.
Right. So let me just see if I can pull this up here.
Personally,
I'm also
I think
saying
that
that,
there's
you
just,
know,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Now have our in New Jersey, I'm coming to you, I promise you. But this is like a report I played around with on Colleen's suggestion here, which shows you what's happening in the, I guess they call it a metro area, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, they group it
Yeah.
together. And it says that, you know, a year ago, closed sales are down 37%. Ouch.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
yes, yes.
The ones that paid in cash, let's see, are down 29%. So that might actually mean that cash sales are up because the total sales are down 37%.
That's compared to total, right?
Correct. You know, median home price is still up 7.8%.
That's a
Is it-
lack of inventory. That's why it's down.
So,
It's a lack
so
of inventory. Sam.
Inventory's up.
that, all right. So Dan, you said inventory's up, and Ron, you said inventory's down, right? And you know, that's
Inventory.
good. Ron, inventory up or down?
I believe it's down. I mean, I don't see that many houses on the market.
Well,
I don't know
Robert,
where they're seeing houses.
yeah, no. But you see, Ron, what it is that this is now in January. Yeah, we had a slowdown in November, December, and January. But after
Right.
January, there, you know, because the interest rate they were going crazy, people got scared. But now after January, the inventory is way down. If you check February or March,
All right.
you'll
I
see the inventory slow down.
want everybody
Well,
to
I could,
hold on. I want everybody to listen to this for a second, because this is something that is very tricky on how you measure it. And was it Dan? You said inventory felt like it was up, right?
Well, this is year over year. So the figures you're pulling for closed sales down and paid in cash down, that's also year over year.
Right. The same. I think it's for the month, year over year comparison.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
now, Dan, do you feel like inventory is up or down?
Compared to where it was in the pandemic, it's up.
Okay, so let me clarify how this is reported so that we can understand. Most of the markets, Dan, that I looked at, and you could pull the stats yourself, are going to have more months of inventory, okay, because the sales are down 40%. And I want you to write this down just so everybody understands it. Let's just say in 2022 in January, right, there were 10 sales in your town, okay? And in 2023, there's only 6 sales in January. Okay, so the way that we calculate inventory is 2 ways. They usually do it by months of supply. Okay, so let's just say that there were 15 homes on the market in January of 2022. And in January of 2023, there's 10 homes on the market. Okay. 10 homes on the market, the way that we generally calculate it is 10 divided by 6 is 1.67 months of inventory. And if we do 15 divided by 10 is 1.5 months of inventory. So in January of 2022, there were 15 homes for sale and the market was selling 10 a month. And in January of 23, there's 10 homes on the market, but the market's only selling 6. So it looks like the months of inventory is up, but the actual inventory is down.
Units, yes.
That's what I found out in most cases. So if somebody asks us, you know, how is inventory? The actual number of homes that are on the market at any given time in most markets is slightly down, but the months of inventory is up because the number of sales per month is down. That was a mouthful. That was a mouthful, but does that make a big difference in how we communicate to our clients what's happening with the inventory? Because they might say, hey, there's now, you know, 2 months of inventory instead of a month and a half now on the available. But because the sales numbers are down, and I think the sales numbers are down because inventory is down, it's kind of a circular argument. Okay. absolute inventory in most markets is actually down the first 2 to 3 months of this year. But because the sales are down, the months of inventory is actually increased. Big difference. I think something worth talking to our clients about when we sit to them one-on-one. And if we have a communication strategy, whether it's through email, text, or video, to have these discussions with them, because otherwise you can get tripped up. You can think that, oh, wow, there's a lot more inventory now, but maybe there's not. Maybe there's less inventory than a year ago and just a little bit less sales than there were a year ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Tony was saying earlier. I'm also seeing retirees actually, as they age, move out of Florida to be closer to their kids and grandkids because they will need assistance in their, golden years. And for many reasons, their kids can't move down here because of their careers and so forth. So, that's causing people to
Well, the
move out of state as
complaint-
well.
Yeah, the complaint that I hear all the time is that here, certainly since 1980 that I've been here, to now, everything got so congested, so built up. And elderly people, they like peace and quiet. They don't like to be rushed. They don't want to be pushed. And so that's one of the reasons why they're moving out. And the other reason is because it's getting so expensive down here, especially with this problem that we have with the insurance, that the only insurance available in Florida is through the state. So you combine the two things, and soon they're retired. I tell them, I said, listen, if you don't need to be here, just go. Because if they got children and grandchildren here, that makes a problem for them, that they have to downsize, get something close by. But if they don't have nobody here, like Dan was saying, that they got the children out of state, they move that way. I have people moving to Georgia, to Tennessee, and all that.
We call them halfbacks.
Half
Right.
a back. There you go, Dan.
They're moving halfway back to New York.
Yeah.
So maybe part of the narrative based on this is if we in Florida, have a conversation about, hey, if you're thinking of moving right closer to family or thinking of moving further north as part of the Remax family, we have offices throughout the whole area. And we also have our own sister company in New Jersey that can help you move to New York and New Jersey. And because housing prices have increased more in Florida than those areas, you can actually take advantage of it. That to me would be a narrative, right? If
Sure.
housing prices are up 17% in Florida and only up about 10% since the pandemic annualized in other parts of the country, then you can take advantage of this, as well as you don't have to deal with, some of the crisis is in terms of insurance and also, growth and everything being a little bit more expensive. Maybe even moving up to further northern in Florida is something that we can talk to people about that will trigger them to say, hey, maybe I'll put my house on the market here, save money. A lot of these retirees, what does the mortgage rate have to do with them? Are they not the ones that are paying cash in most cases?
Most cases, yeah.
So more interest rates don't have any impact on them, right? If they can cash out at a higher price and move somewhere else, cash, it doesn't make any difference. So there has to be a way that we can exploit that opportunity for them to buy now while others are struggling because of interest rates and they're a cash buyer. So that gives us some ideas for Florida, in my opinion. Now I want to take it to New Jersey, where I'm a little bit more familiar with how to mine the data. And you can get this data from, Garden State MLS or the New Jersey Association of Realtors. Under here, you have these stats, and you can do them, let's say 2023, January. Let me just take Union County. And you can run something for the entire county. Okay. And, I'm sure we can even put a little bit of a branding here for ourselves under the New Jersey Association of Realtors, so it's more customized. new listings are down 17%. Closed sales are down 29%. Days on market surprisingly is up in the entire county. I mean, I think this is, whatever the data shows, this is a conversation starter for people who are thinking of moving. And if they're fearful, they're not doing anything. If they look at this data and it provides them with some comfort to make a decision, I think that puts us in a unique position and gives us the value added of providing data to clients.
Oh, sure. The data is very important there. Okay, you got to own it. That makes you the authority in front of a client there. That makes you there. So, and you got to express that to them. Say, listen, if you talk to an agent and doesn't know these stats, doesn't know this number, he's just operating in the dark. Is that what you want? Instead of having an agent that knows where the market is going and get you the most money that you can get.
And here's another communication point that I really think we should be hitting is getting involved into the homeownership process earlier on. We think that for most people, if they can afford it, is better or worse than maybe waiting 3 years or 5 years until they build up a larger down payment or they get wage increases? What's your gut opinion on this?
The sooner the better.
Yeah. I tell the people that I say, especially young people, I say, get the most that you can get. Forget about McDonald's and an extra ticket to go see a movie. I say, get the house because that's where your money will be, that they will be. And most of them, certainly when they start, they are a sticker shock, but I tell them, I say, look how much money you waste. You better put in your house. That's your roof on your head.
So if housing historically appreciates at double the rate of wage inflation, the longer you wait to get into the game, the more difficult it is for housing to be to work for you instead of for you to work against it. And I just don't think people, understand those components. And
what was that again, Robert? I'm sorry, I did not understand.
So in the last 3 years, wage inflation's up 5.45%. Housing across the country is up 11.5%. So it's roughly housing doubled the wage inflation. Okay. And you go back 25 years, it's in Florida, wage inflation is about 2.5% and housing inflation is almost 6%. In New Jersey, wage inflation is 2.47 and housing appreciation is 4.6. So it's nearly double. Every year you wait, you're losing you're losing buying power, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, having the story to tell, some people it's not right to buy, but some people who are in fear are going to make the wrong decisions because they don't understand how the game is played. And I really think that, mining data, and if we're going to use it as a company, I'll work with Fred to put up some nice data,
Yes.
maybe even some case studies to show how people have moved from one area to another and how it's benefited them, and maybe how buying sooner rather than later would benefit somebody based upon the trends, right? So if somebody bought now and, housing inflation is generally twice what wage inflation is, versus deferring that for 3 years, even if the interest rates went down 1.5%, you're still probably going to be a net loser. Okay, the sooner you become a homeowner, the better. The average tenant's lifetime net worth. Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of statistics that, Jay, thanks for sharing that. And another thing that I think is
Rob, could I add something before you go on there?
Go ahead.
One of the tools that we use with a buyer presentation is using the tax advantage. Of course, it got more complicated because you only get, if you're in New Jersey, $10,000 maximum. But we always use the tax advantage to parlay that into what it means to you in a monthly payment. So by that, I mean, you can increase your deductions, take home more money and afford a house.
And Joe, there's one other thing, and I go way back to our days at Remax of Princeton in the 90s. You also have an amortization, and I know it seems ridiculously low in the beginning, but over 10 or 15 years, what happens to your mortgage balance, Joe?
Well, it goes down.
Tremendous, over a 15-year period, it's a significant number. And when you're comparing that to rent, I think, what we have is we have tax advantage, right? We have
Homeownership is the best thing you could have, and we're focusing a lot on the financial part, but let's also include in their quality of life. Do you want to rent? Do you want to be able to decorate, have a nice place to live, come and go as you please, or not be worried about what the landlord's going to do if he's going to sell the property? All this information is very, very good. I think our average buyer, this is way above their head to get into all the mathematics. I always was very successful using the tax advantage and laying everything out on a paper and show them what they potentially could get back and what that means in affordability. Usually, the tax return that they're going to get allows them to buy a $50,000 to $80,000. I'm just guessing. I haven't done the math. More than they think they can afford. So I think that's a key component in discussing buyer purchasing a home, quality of life, and the tax advantage and what they can afford. The other thing I just want to throw in back on a listing presentation, I've been tracking the sales. It's very simple. I track the sales and I have a sheet for each township that we service. And it shows what's on the market, what's under contract, and what's sold so far this year. And I go all the way back down to, I think I go back to 2005. And I show them the history. And I can tell you how many that I have won many listings just because the customer felt I knew what I was doing. I was intelligent beyond means over other agents. And just it takes 10 minutes to do, keep a sheet, and then just update it when you go on a listing. And it's incredibly valuable. It's very simple to do. Go on the MLS, put your town, how many are on the market, how many sold this year, and how many are on the contract. And then you just keep it going. I'm done.
So,
Joe, I think that also works for buyers.
Oh, yes, it does, to show them the inventory. And if the inventory's, going down, it'll help put some light of fire under them, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a very good tool for to show ownership versus rental. Because when you're paying out a rental, you're paying someone else's mortgage down.
Exactly.
So Colleen, what are the three things that you think buyers are asking most when they're looking to buy a house?
Oh, if they can afford it.
Okay, well, let's just say that they can afford it. What are the three things that they're looking at? Would it be like safety? Would it be convenience? Would it be education? Tell me what you think the three things are that people are looking for, in your opinion.
Well, first is location.
Yeah.
It's they have a reason they want to live somewhere.
Location, lifestyle, right?
Yes.
Stuff. What would number two be?
Number two would be affordability.
Okay.
And I think number three would probably be
Condition.
does it meet their needs? Is it going to be good for an expanding family?
So Heather had put in the chat location, quality of schools, and resale value. I think a lot of those are things that are in there. And one stat that I shared with the group, it was probably going back 6 or 9 months ago, and probably most of you have forgotten it, was that homeowners, children of homeowners on average, I want to say it's like 35% higher on the standardized tests, and they get into better colleges because they move less. Now, if you're able to, communicate to parents that, there's a strong likelihood if you buy a house that your children are going to get into better schools and have a better life. Do you think that that would influence people's decisions versus renting?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's an emotional tie that it's hard, to put a price on, right? Because a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
can't,
people-
yeah, you can't put a price on that. Looking at the successful life for your children. That's what built Coral Springs in Broward County, is the fact that they had excellent schools.
Yeah, the people, they're always concerned about the location, how easy it is to get to what they need to go. And then the next thing is the security, the crime rate in that city there. And then certainly the last one is they always ask, where are the doctors and hospitals? And so those are the main. And then certainly if they need a house of worship, they want to know how close they are to that. Yeah, those are the, and that's on the west side where we have all the residential area. Certainly on east side, by the beach there. So certainly that's another set of things there that they want to know, how close it is to the airports, the highway, how they can get in and out to the buildings that they want to be in.
Right.
Hey, Rob, I on something that you said about people, children who move more and do better in school. I also feel that, you mentioned this before, and I thought about it, and based on my experience, I also feel that has a lot to do if you live in like in the city or more, in the suburbs, because kids in the suburbs tend, if their parents own a house, they tend to move less. But if you live in, let's say, Newark, you tend to move more. So, those are more congested areas. The schools are more congested. And I think that the kids get less out of the school system in those congested areas like Newark versus like somebody in Cranford. And I lived with it because of my own kids. My kids, when they first went to school, they were in Newark where there was 34 kids per class. And then they moved to Cranford where there's 16. So I think there's something to that statistic too,
Well, and I think the sense of stability.
Yeah.
Home ownership means stability and security.
Yeah, and the kids are more controlled. They're it's a different environment for them. I'll tell you, based on my own kids and based on what I see, like in these rural areas, like the cities like Newark, the parents work a lot, their kids roam more freely. When you go into the suburbs, their parents are more home at a reasonable time, and they have more of a family structure.
So how about a lot of this, Paul, that we're talking about here, and everybody that's making a contribution is going towards the buyer side, right? And I think the challenge really is, how do we use stats to get more inventory, correct? And
So, Rob, if I could just add one thing here, and it relates to getting more inventory. I had 2 conversations this week with people in my market. And the question was, yeah, I keep hearing that there's a shortage of inventory, but what's that really, what's it really like? And I would say to them, well, the beginning of April in town, how many houses do we normally have on the market? And the answer was 30 to 40. And I said, great. And I said, so how many other are marketing right now? Well, I don't know. Well, there's 5. And suddenly they shake their head and go, really? So I think that sometimes we think that the people are more educated as to what's really going on than they are. And we really need to take it down to, let's just start here and let me explain to you what's actually going on. And pointing out a number like that, when they're expecting 30 to 40 and the number is really 5, suddenly they get the picture.
Right. I mean, maybe a campaign that we can have in terms of storytelling. I don't know how many of us on this call saw Glenn's video peer to peer. I thought it was awesome. And I think one of the stories that we should start to talk about is if somebody's a cash buyer, right? If they have equity in their home, they're going to sell and buy cash. I think higher interest rates actually help them, because when they go to buy, it has zero impact, and there's still a shortage on the listing side, because when rates come down, it's going to be more difficult for them to make that transition purchase. Plus the fact that they're not walking away from a 3% interest rate.
Mhm.
And I think somehow we need to be able to craft that narrative. And, in New Jersey, we need to study, that how money walks and where people are moving to, and maybe have some case studies on how people can get to where they want to be. Right. And for people who are in Florida, and, a lot of the sales that we're trying to shake out of the tree are probably properties that are primarily large equity, or a lot of times no mortgages. On a lot of the listings in Florida, Colleen, are you seeing, a third to a half of them, like I've noticed, where there's no mortgage being paid off on sales?
Yes.
So if you don't have a mortgage that you're paying off, there's no downside to rates being low or high,
Nope.
right?
That's why we're seeing a lot of cash buyers.
And yeah, so the cash sellers are cash buyers where they go, and the mortgage rate has zero impact. Mortgage rates go down, housing appreciation is going to accelerate, correct?
Exactly. And I think that what we're seeing now is people that have to buy. They have a need. And I believe if the interest rates go down even a little more, that we're going to see that flurry of influx of investors coming back. So I think our prices are only going to increase.
I agree with Colleen. Once the interest rates do come down, they are going to come down. You're going to see a lot more people coming to the table to buy properties.
And what percentage of people during the pandemic, according to NAR, I feel like they sacrificed when they bought their house? Anybody want to guess what that number is? I think it's 85 or 88% of people felt like they sacrificed because, they were competing against 40 people. They bought in an area that they didn't want to buy, in a town they didn't want to buy in. They bought a smaller house. They didn't have the open floor plan, so on and so on and so on. So there's probably a significant amount of people that, if they had all the facts, might be turning to be our future sellers. And we just need to have a compelling story. And I think if we could tell this story on video to a larger group, we'll have some, what I'll call come list me conversations, instead of having to hunt down all that business, right? Cold calling, all of those things. If we can find our channel to communicate with people about, hey, this is a possibility to do this, it might just make our lives a little bit easier. It might make our clients feel a lot more comfortable with what they have. And is there anybody in Florida that's an expert at using the Florida stats that might want to do a 15-minute call with me to show me what you do?
An expert.
So we need, I will learn to become an expert to try to manipulate some of the data that we can share with our clients. The good news is, and I'm going to address this to Colleen, is that I don't need to do it for every town or county, because they group the 3 counties that we primarily work in as one group in terms of a metro data.
That's true.
And I think that probably to some extent that's a little bit unfortunate, because they do behave slightly different to significantly different, I think, right?
Yes, they do. But we can, we can also use the MLS to extract even more data from the various areas.
Gotcha. And is Maria still on with us? Maybe we lost her. Did any of you do the RPR class?
Yep.
Was there
Yes,
anything?
excellent.
Yeah, I did.
Was there anything that you had that were good takeaways from that would tie into what we're talking about here?
I will say it was a great class. For me personally, I would probably like to take it another 2 or 3 times because she touched on a lot of specific details, a lot of important details. And if you understand that whole process, it can be, the perfect tool, I think, for listing presentations. So.
Okay.
We do have the recordings of the class.
Somebody
Pardon
asked. I don't believe Robert Garver, were you on the class or no?
Yes, I was.
It was not recorded, right?
It was recorded and
It
it's
was
also
recorded.
sent out, is sent to Maria, and also if you put your email address in the chat, they were going to send it directly to you.
Yeah, I have the recording.
Okay, so it is available.
So yeah, reach out to your manager or Colleen, and you can get a copy of that if you missed it. So
one
I'm
of the-
gonna.
I thought one of the really interesting things that they did talk about is that they do offer as a component of your CMA through RPR is an adjustment program where they have assigned values, much like the ones that Jeff Otto offers in New Jersey, where you can do the adjustments right there as you're setting up your CMA, and basically they do the work for you.
It's a great tip. Well, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, whether you celebrate Easter or Passover. And, I'm glad that we had the amount of people attend during a holiday. That's amazing. And I'm going to do my best to try to aggregate some data here. I would really encourage everybody to start working on a video strategy so that you can have a broader audience. And let's get excited about let's get excited about helping people, transition from wherever they are, because we all know that a lot of people are staying in homes that they don't really belong in, especially people who are maybe on the empty nesting side or the retiring side that have more home than they need. They're just sitting there saying, well, you know what? I'm not desperate. I don't have to sell right now. And they're waiting for us to have a story to share with them on why now is the better time for them to make that move. So, Joe, you want the video follow-up for the RPR? Okay, so I'll see if I can even have the RPR put on the hub. Okay, that'll make it easier for everybody just to download it as well as getting it emailed to you.
I'll go ahead and send it to Fred.
Fantastic. And copy me on that, Colleen. I'll send it to Joe and Stacy.
Yep.
Everybody have a great weekend. And Joe, the Monday video for the peer-to-peer is on the hub, and it's also on Abundance in Real Estate if you go onto YouTube. And you'll also have the attachments that go along with it, where Glenn shared the tools he used and tools he purchased to be effective at pulling off the video. And it was the entry level points were not very expensive, and then you can go really crazy like he did with building out his studio. So everybody have a great weekend, have a great holiday, and I hope this added a little value. And I'm going to do a lot of homework because I just feel I ran out of time trying to build charts and stories that we can share with our clients, our homeowners, our home sellers, our future home buyers. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
great weekend.